Greetings. Genesis 18. And the Lord appeared to him in the plains, this is Abraham, of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. God appeared to Abraham. Verse 2. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. You know, at first reaction, I think we would normally assume that, 3. It's probably the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. But of course, we're going to find out that's not the case. 3 men stood by him, and when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door. This is Abraham, ran to meet these 3 that looked like men. And he bowed himself toward the ground and said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. So Abraham saw 3 men. It appears to me like he recognized one is the Lord, angel of the Lord. I mean, we don't have to call him angel. The Lord. He sees him, and he goes to him, and he washes his feet. Calls him Lord. Verse 5, I will fetch a morsel of bread and comfort ye your hearts. After that ye shall pass on, for therefore are ye come to your servant. And they said, So do as thou hast said. And so, Abraham wants to feed them, and they let him. God lets him. Verse 6, And Abraham hasted to the tent and to Sarah and said, Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes upon the hearth. And Abraham ran into the herd and fetched a calf tender and good, and gave it to a young man, and he hastened to dress it. And he took butter and milk and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. And when they said to him, Where is Sarah thy wife? He said, Behold, in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return to thee according to the time of life. And lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent door which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old and well stricken in age, and it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old also? And the Lord said to Abraham, the Lord here, Wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I of a surety bear a child which am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? And the time appointed I will return unto thee according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laughed not, for she was afraid. And he said, Nay, but thou didst laugh. And the men rose up from thence and looked toward Sodom, and Abraham went with them to bring them on their way. Okay, who were these 3 men? It seems that one is the Lord, right? A couple of others don't seem to be deity. Who are they? Probably, our best guess would be, my best guess would be a departed man that's, in the spirit that came back in this context. Maybe someone Abraham knew in his life, but they may return back to Abraham in this context as men. I mean, notice they're just called men. Verse 17, the Lord said, Shall I hide from Abraham the thing which I do, seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him? For I know him that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord to do justice and judgment, and that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which is spoken of him. And the Lord said, Behold, the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous. I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is coming to me, and if not, I will know. And the men turned their faces from thence and went toward Sodom, but Abraham stood yet before the Lord. So we're going to learn more about him as we consider the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. And Abraham drew near and said, Wilt thou destroy the righteous with the wicked? So he knew what God was going to do. Hey, God, if there's the righteous, are you still going to destroy them? Peradventure, if there be 50 righteous within the city, wilt thou also destroy and not spare the place of the 50 righteous that are therein? That be far from thee to do this after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked that are far from thee. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right? And the Lord said, If I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sake. And Abraham answered and said, Behold, now I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord, which am but dust and ashes. Peradventure, there should lack 5 of the 50 righteous. Wilt thou destroy all the city's sake of 5? And he said, If I find there 40 and 5, I will not destroy it. And he spake unto him yet again and said, Peradventure there shall be 40 found there. And he said, I will not do it for 40's sake. And he said unto him, Oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak. Peradventure shall there be 30 found there? And he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there. And he said, Behold, now I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord. Peradventure there shall be 20 found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 20's sake. And he said, Oh, let not the Lord be angry. I will speak yet for this once. Peradventure 10 shall be found there. And he said, I will destroy it for 10's sake. And the Lord went his way as soon as he had left communion with Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. So I'm almost convinced that that the repetition there is, shows us how that God certainly wearies of men and the way men try to deal with him. And so we have all these details of that. The patience of the Lord is exceeding, isn't it? So very interesting. There's Abraham asking, if 50 people are there, will you destroy it? And he goes on down and gets down to 10. It makes you wonder if 10 was God's bottom number. Abraham was just too embarrassed to ask God anymore. But they couldn't find 10 righteous people in the city. Now, our nation is going to be destroyed for lack of righteousness. Because righteousness, sinners are opposed to any people. Now, how many righteous people would it take to save our nation? 50? 45? 40? 10? It shows you the mercy of God, doesn't it? The mercy of God. Will God save our nation for 10 righteous people? He might. Isn't it amazing that you might make all the difference in the world? You, one person. Prayers of a righteous man availeth much. You. Thank you.